everybody. Our class is working on integers with positive and negative integers. And one of the confusions that we have been coming across is the students' understanding of what happens when we are subtracting a negative integer. We have learned that a shortcut understanding is subtracting a negative is really the same as adding. 8 removing negative 6 is 14. That's the same thing as 8 plus 6 is 14. We want to teach the students to understand fundamentally why, because this will help them with other operations later. First, it's important to understand that it is all in the language. When we look at subtracting, we know that that means to remove or to take away. You can consider this negative like debt. This means that we are removing debt. So let's take a look at what we do know, what we should all be able to understand very clearly. That if I have 6 and I want to remove 6, what would that give me? You're right, that is 0. So let's take a look at this right here. If I have 6 and I want to remove that 6, I'm taking it away, it brings me back to 0. So that's my 0 principle. What if I did it this way instead? What if I had negative 6 and I want to remove that debt? It means that I am adding it back on. So that would mean that I would be writing this. If I had negative 6 and I want to remove that negative 6, that would also give me 0. And this is the same thing as saying negative 6 plus 6 is 0. That should help you to understand why subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding, if you can see that there. So now let's put it into our equation. We're going to practice this in an equation and find out when we subtract negative 6 from 8, it is actually adding 6 to 8. So I'm just going to take these, I'm going to move them off to the side because I'm going to use them. But let's first represent our numbers. So I have 8. I'm going to add 8. But then I'm going to remove the negative 6. So if I take that negative 6, and I have it right there, and I want to subtract that negative, it means that I have to add that negative back on. So you see how we did that? I might even prefer to overlap them, so you can kind of see that I erased that there, okay? Now, it's important to understand that for a true understanding of the calculation, we want to look at the distance in between here. So we can see that I landed on 14, but let's look at the actual difference in this space right here, because I want to show you how we can build onto this. So if I had 8 and I subtracted that negative 6, I have now moved a total of 14 paces. Now, that's not going to matter if that is here or if I move it on the line. Would it be any different if I did this instead? If I have maybe over here and over here and over here, these are still 14 paces, correct? I'm still moving 14 paces. I was just starting at another location. This is called constant difference. This means that that is still 14. But what I did here is I have another 6 that I've added onto here. So really from 0, I added on 6. So I actually have a new equation that I have just found here. And my equation looks like this. It is 6 plus 8, subtracting negative 6. And if we knew that 8 subtracting negative 6 was 14, how much would that be? Let's find out. I'm just going to make this bigger. I'm going to put that over here. So if we had 14, what is this now? This is now meaning that we have moved a total of 20 paces because we have this now, that's 6, plus the 14 that we have moved. And I have a new equation. So you can see that I can get into more complex equations. So I just wanted to show you that example about why subtracting a negative is in fact the same as adding it back on. And then the understanding of the space in between as being the difference. This will help us to get into more complex operations and to truly understand what exactly is happening with the numbers as we do it. I hope that helped.